Inside the extravagant luxury of Versace, the brand for the dramatically rich. There is a type of luxury that doesn't want to be discreet. On the contrary, it wants to be seen, felt, and even judged. While the world insists that sophistication is silence, Versace proves the opposite. That true power often speaks loudly. And perhaps that's exactly why so many wealthy people hide in minimalism, while another bolder group decides to dominate the environment before even saying a word. From the outside, observers might call it exaggeration, ostentation, or even bad taste. But those who understand the game grasp something deeper. Versace never sold clothes. It sold presence. It addresses a silent pain in those who have already achieved everything, but still want to be recognized, remembered, and admired. It's not about money. It's about identity, impact, and the courage not to hide behind socially accepted neutrality. And here's the paradox. The simpler the world tries to appear, the more exclusive exaggeration becomes. Dramatic luxury becomes a competitive advantage, almost a psychological declaration of power. Throughout this content, it becomes clear that Versace isn't for everyone, and never intended to be. The question is exaggeration really the problem? Or does it simply reveal who has the courage to occupy space? The audacious origins of Versace, why it was born to be extravagant. The story of Versace, it doesn't begin timidly, nor with the idea of pleasing everyone. From the very first stroke, the brand emerges as an almost provocative response to the silent luxury that dominated European fashion. Instead of an elegant whisper, it chose to speak loudly and confidently. It was as if it were saying, luxury doesn't need permission. It can occupy space, attract attention, and take center stage without any guilt. Behind all of this was Gianni Versace. He was someone who grew up surrounded by classical art, Baroque architecture, and intense visual references. He didn't see excess as a mistake, but as a language. For him, vibrant colors, bold prints, and strong symbols weren't gratuitous exaggeration. They were identity. Just as a palace doesn't apologize for being grand, his creations didn't shy away from the gaze of others. This bold birth explains why the brand never tried to fit in. It was born to stand out. While other houses sought neutrality and discretion, Versace decided to be memorable, almost theatrical. It's like someone entering a room without raising their voice, yet everyone still notices their presence. And it is precisely this initial decision, made long ago, that sets the stage for understanding how drama became a signature, and why this only grows in the following chapters of this story. Gianni Versace, the designer who transformed drama into a luxury signature. If Versace was born extravagant, it was because Gianni Versace he saw fashion as spectacle, not simply clothing. For him, clothes were visual narratives, capable of telling stories even before a single word was spoken. Each collection carried an almost cinematic energy, as if the body were the stage and the fabric, the script. There was no room for neutrality when the goal was to create an immediate emotional impact. Gianni had a rare talent. He understood the psychological power of visuals. He knew that wealthy people don't just buy quality, but sensation. A sensation of dominance, presence, and uniqueness. By dressing someone in Versace, he delivered more than luxury. He delivered a posture. It was like flipping an internal switch that said, "Enter the room as if it were already yours." This profound understanding is what made his fashion speak directly to artists, tycoons, and public figures thirsty for differentiation. Some say that Gianni didn't create to please, but to provoke. And curiously, that's what generated desire. Just as a charismatic leader doesn't try to be loved by everyone, he took the risk of dividing opinions, because he knew that true luxury lies precisely there. This personal, almost philosophical trait ends up paving the way for something even greater: the brand's connection with celebrities, and an elite that lives for image, and that changes everything in the next point. The maximalist aesthetic that has won over celebrities and eccentric millionaires. When Versace truly entered the celebrity spotlight, it wasn't by chance. It was a strategy, albeit an intuitive one. The brand offered exactly what artists, athletes, and eccentric millionaires sought: visibility with personality. Wearing Versace wasn't about looking elegant, it was about being impossible to ignore. In a world where everyone wants attention, it became a kind of visual shortcut to the center of attention. In the 90s, parades of Versace, they seemed more like cultural events than fashion shows. Supermodels strutted like rock stars, and each look was designed to become a conversation starter, a magazine cover story, or a status symbol. A classic example is the famous safety pin dress worn by Elizabeth Hurley, which not only marked an era but redefined what high-impact sensuality meant. It wasn't just clothes, it was pure emotional marketing. Millionaires with expansive personalities quickly understood this message. For those who already have money, the next level is being recognized without saying a word. Maximalist aesthetics fulfilled this role with surgical precision. Boldly Baroque prints, unashamed gold accents, and cuts that communicated power. And the more the world tried to become minimalist, the more valuable this contrast became. A detail that sets the stage for understanding where this intense visual inspiration comes from. The myth of modern Baroque and how Versace reinvented excess. The aesthetic basis of Versace, it wasn't born by chance or from passing trends. It drinks directly from the source of the Italian Baroque. Intense gold, exaggerated symmetry, ornaments that seem never-ending. All of this already existed centuries before, in churches, palaces, and works made to impress. Gianni understood something rare. Excess, when well executed, doesn't tire, it hypnotizes. And it was precisely this classical principle that he translated into contemporary fashion. Versace's so-called modern Baroque acts as a bridge between past and present. Instead of seeming old-fashioned, it becomes timeless because it speaks to something deep within humanity. The desire for grandeur. Like a flashy gold watch or an aggressively designed sports car, these prints don't seek approval, they command attention. The wearer isn't trying to blend in, they're making it clear they've arrived to be seen. In practice, this explains why the brand never followed the dominant minimalism. While others cut excesses, Versace refined the exaggeration. It's almost like learning to speak loudly without losing elegance, a difficult but powerful balance. And when you understand this visual language, it becomes impossible not to realize that the excess there is not empty aesthetics, but a code of power that connects directly with sensuality, status, and dominance. Exactly what begins to emerge in the next topic. The brand's association with power, sensuality, and immense status. Versace has always understood something that few brands have dared to openly admit. Luxury is also raw desire, explicit power, and unfiltered sensuality. While other houses softened their narratives to appear respectable, Versace did the opposite, embracing the instinctive side of human nature. Its campaigns, cuts, and symbols communicate dominance, not submission, like someone entering a space knowing exactly the value they carry. The choice of Medusa as a symbol is not random. In mythology, she paralyzes anyone who looks at her, exactly the effect the brand seeks to create. Wearing Versace is, in many cases, a silent affirmation of authority. It's not about asking for space, but about occupying it naturally. For people with high purchasing power, this acts as a status amplifier. Those who have already won the financial game now play the image game, and there Versace operates with mastery. In practice, This translates into very clear choices. A structured blazer with gold details, a dress that flatters the body unapologetically, an accessory that draws attention from afar. These are decisions that communicate leadership and confidence even before any conversation begins. And when power, sensuality, and status blend, in this way, the brand ceases to be just fashion and becomes a social language. Something that becomes even more evident when we look at the historical moments that immortalized it. Historic moments, landmark plays that defined an entire generation. There are clothes that people wear, and there are clothes that become part of history. The Versace's, it has always targeted the latter group. Over the years, the brand has created pieces that have transcended the fashion world and become cultural symbols. The green dress worn by Jennifer Lopez in 2000, for example, was not just a daring look. It literally changed the way the internet searches for images. It's the kind of impact few brands have managed to create. These iconic moments didn't happen by chance, but resulted from a precise understanding of timing. Versace understood that the right outfit, on the right person, at the right time, creates a powerful domino effect. Supermodels, red carpets, magazine covers. Everything was carefully orchestrated so that the piece wouldn't be forgotten. Like a memorable movie scene, those creations became etched in the collective imagination, even for those who never bought a single piece from the brand. For those who observe carefully, there's a practical lesson here. Strong brands don't just sell products, they sell chapters of history. Whether in luxury, business, or personal life, creating something memorable requires the courage to take calculated risks. Versace has done this repeatedly and paid the price, but also reaped symbolic eternity. However, every great story also faces ruptures, and some of them change everything definitively in the next chapter. The impact of the tragedy, Gianni's death, and the survival of the empire. The death of Gianni Versace, it wasn't just a personal tragedy. It was a symbolic earthquake in the world of luxury. Suddenly, the creative mind behind all that extravagance fell silent, and the inevitable question arose: would Versace survive without its soul? Many brands don't survive when they lose their founder because they were never more than a strong name sustained by a single vision. The shock was immediate, but what came next revealed something even deeper. At Versace, he was no longer just a designer. He was a system, a recognizable aesthetic language, a DNA that's hard to erase. Even amidst the grief, the brand continued showing, selling, and positioning itself, as if understanding that stopping would be allowing tragedy to define the end of the story. There's a silent, almost uncomfortable lesson here. True empires need to outlive the people who created them. Gianni left behind codes, symbols, and an identity so strong that they withstood the chaos. This applies to brands, businesses, and even personal projects. When everything depends on you, everything dies with you. And it's precisely this delicate transition between pain and reinvention that opens space for a new figure to take center stage. Someone few believed was ready for it. Donatella Versace and the reinvention of excess in the 21st century. When Donatella Versace, when she took creative control, many people doubted her, and that's almost a pattern when a woman inherits an empire built under such a large shadow. The challenge wasn't just keeping the brand alive, but proving that the exaggeration could evolve without losing its soul. Donatella quickly understood that repeating Gianni would be a mistake. The way forward was to reinterpret the drama for a new generation. She softened some rough edges without taming the essence. The exaggeration remained, but gained contemporary awareness. More strategy, more cultural understanding, more dialogue with the present time. While the world moved towards digital, Donatella took Versace to social media, to pop culture, and to a new aesthetic of global celebrities. It was like swapping the classic stage for a modern stadium. The intensity remained, but the audience changed. In practice, this is seen in the choices, bold collaborations, shows that blend nostalgia and the future, campaigns that embrace diversity without abandoning glamour. It's a valuable lesson for any project. Tradition is not a prison, it's leverage. Donatella didn't erase the past, she used it as fuel to move forward. And this adaptability helps explain why, even today, certain wealthy profiles remain deeply attracted to the brand, something that becomes impossible to ignore in the next section. Why do the dramatically rich remain obsessed with the brand to this day? There is a specific type of wealth that doesn't want to go unnoticed, and that's exactly where the Versace it continues to reign. The so-called dramatic rich don't seek silent validation. They want expression, impact, and narrative. For this profile, discreet luxury sounds almost like a waste. Versace offers something rarer: the possibility of transforming money into presence, and presence into symbolic power. These people have already achieved the basics: comfort, security, financial freedom. The next level is identity. Wearing Versace becomes an extension of their personality: intense, confident, provocative. It's like choosing a noisy sports car instead of a quiet sedan. It's not about efficiency, it's about feeling. The brand understands this emotional impulse and translates it into prints, cuts, and symbols that speak even before the wearer opens their mouth. In practice, this explains why Versace remains strong at exclusive parties, luxury destinations, casinos, yachts, and major urban centers. It functions as a social code among equals, a signal that those who wear it are not afraid to be seen. And when luxury ceases to be merely consumption and becomes performance, the brand consolidates itself as something greater than fashion, a theatrical language of status that points directly to what it represents in the modern world. How Versace became a symbol of theatrical and provocative luxury in the modern world. A Versace. It's not just a clothing brand. It functions as a stage where luxury is performed. In the modern world where everything is image, narrative, and perception, Versace understood before many that luxury needed to be performed. Each show, campaign, or collection acts as a carefully constructed theatrical act to provoke a reaction: admiration, desire, or even shock. Indifference was never an option. This theatrical luxury speaks directly to the current logic of social media and visual culture. In a feed saturated with images, only what immediately grabs attention survives. Versace fits perfectly into this because it has always been visually noisy. It's like a work of art designed to be viewed from a distance: strong colors, clear symbols, and direct messages. For those who understand the game of image, this is not an exaggeration, it's pure strategy. Ultimately, the brand has become a mirror of an era in which power, identity, and spectacle intertwine. Wearing Versace today is about assuming a role, consciously choosing how you want to be perceived. And this awareness, that luxury is also a personal narrative, closes a cycle that began long ago, in the audacity of its origins. But at the same time, it opens up a silent question. What happens when someone decides to live this luxury not just as clothing, but as a stance towards life? What you do with that knowledge changes everything. After understanding Versace from the inside, one thing becomes clear. Luxury has never been just about price, but about attitude. Exaggeration, when conscious, ceases to be noise and becomes a language. The brand has shown that those who master their own image don't ask permission to exist. They occupy space. Now the inevitable question is, in which areas of your life are you trying to hide to be accepted, when you could be positioning yourself to be remembered? This knowledge isn't just for talking about fashion. It applies to business, career, communication, and even personal decisions. When you understand that a strong identity generates impact, you start to choose better how you present yourself, how you speak, how you act. Perhaps it's time to stop softening your ideas, your talents, or your goals for fear of judgment. After all, those who try to please everyone almost never become memorable. So reflect. What image are you building today? Does it represent who you really are, or just what seems safest? If this content made you see luxury and power from a different angle, it was already worthwhile. Now, subscribe to the channel, turn on notifications, and continue learning about image, power, money, and behavior. Because understanding these codes changes the way you navigate the world.